Which good guy would be absolutely terrifying as a villain? Story 1. Gandalf. Middle-earth would be doomed.
Don't tempt me, Frodo. I dare not take it, not even to keep it safe. Understand, Frodo, I would use this ring from a desire to do good, but through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
Tolkien wrote in a letter draft about what would have happened if Gandalf took the ring. Gandalf as Ring Lord would have been far worse than Sauron. He would have remained righteous, but self-righteous. He would have continued to rule and order things for good, and benefit off his subjects according to his wisdom, which was and would have remained great. Thus, while Sauron multiplied evil, he left good clearly distinguishable from it. Gandalf would have made good detestable and seem evil. Story 2. One Punch Man. I think the scariest part about it would be Saitama's indifference to stuff. Because his motivations are so atypical, it would be like a non-issue until something randomly pisses him off. Black Friday would no longer be a shit show because nobody is going to risk pissing Saitama off. So everybody stays home. PS5, Xbox, GeForce 3080 scalpers, they would no longer exist because Saitama would wreck it if he tried to add to cart and stock instantly disappeared. Plot twist, evil Saitama is the villain we need. Story 3. I don't know that he counts as a good guy per se, but John Osterman, Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. I don't think there are any good people in that comic, but he's the only one that presents any real danger. His increasing apathy and disillusionment with the whole concept of free will are the only things that really save us. But if he wanted to, he could disentangle every subatomic particle in the galaxy with a thought. Can you imagine fighting a villain who can just turn off the 4 fundamental forces on a whim? Make Superman look like the schoolyard bully next to NORAD. You can't kill him. He exists through sheer force of his own will. He can exist in multiple places at once, and his bodies are just a collection of atoms he's assembled because he feels like it. Takes those atoms apart, and he just puts them back together. Ozymandias pulled a really daring and really stupid gambit, pissing him off to get him to leave Earth. If his anger and frustration at the planet had turned just slightly away from wanting to go away to wanting the planet to go away. Story 4. Elsa from Frozen. Her ice powers could destroy a rival country's agriculture or oceanic trade. If she leveraged her powers to their fullest, she'd become the dictator over all of Europe that Hitler tried to be. Story 5. Plastic Man. He could change into a giant umbrella with cool shades to block the sun. Fuck it, Superman. Tower of Babel revealed his weakness to be freezing. Liquid nitrogen on Mr. Freeze's gear would stop him. Granted, he is immortal. In the pages of JLA, he was once petrified and shattered in the past, and they found him again in the present. He revealed he was conscious the whole time. Story 6. Alien X from Ben 10. He's probably the most powerful alien life form I've seen in fiction. Yes, he had that weakness of his 2 minds getting in his way all the time to pointlessly debate a solution, but he doesn't have that weakness anymore in the 4th Ben 10 show Omniverse, and that's what makes him a lot scarier than he already is. He can erase our universe in a thought. Story 7. Batman. At least Superman is easy enough to stop if you've got kryptonite. Tell me, do you really think even he could stop an evil Batman? Batman, who knows the strengths and weaknesses of the entire Justice League and has contingency plans for taking down every single one of them. Story 8. Deku. I've read a lot of fanfics that explore this, and Deku would honestly be a terrifying villain. In fact, he's already a terrifying hero. He keeps journals of all the quirks he sees, their applications, weaknesses, restrictions, etc. If he applied himself to villainy, he would know how to defeat every hero with ease. He would be in an especially advantageous position because of how heroes in his society rely on popularity. So they would constantly be showing off their abilities and techniques and giving him the ammunition he needs to defeat them. Story 9. Doctor Who. Especially the 10th Doctor. They kind of explore this with the Master character, but if the Doctor were to turn bad, sheesh. They already lost their home planet. They're basically immortal, with nothing left to lose and no real leverage to use against them if they've lost their conscience and sense of, well, humanity, for lack of a better word. Story 10. Kenshiro. We actually see what he'd become with 3 other similar villains. We got a gang leader, a mad scientist who wants to advance Hokuto Shinken with unethical experiments, and a great warlord with the classic shonen ideal of become the strongest. Each of those are terrifying villains, at least when compared to normal people instead of Ken himself. Except for that last one. Story 11. Goku. Fast enough to dodge lasers. As a child, he was bulletproof. One of, if not the, top fighters who only gets stronger after every fight. If you beat him but don't kill him, he will come back stronger each time. He can sense people from pretty much anywhere in the universe, or others if he is aware of them. Then there's the fact he can teleport right to wherever he wants instantly. Story 12. Superman. He's just too OP. That's why I don't like him as a character. His drama is manufactured. Kryptonite is always the answer against him, and he always beats that one Achilles heel. Otherwise, he is unstoppable, and because he is a god, it makes for boring conflicts. He just wins. But as a villain, now he's terrifying, because he just wins. Superman is a god. Superman is a god in the Greco-Roman sense, sure, but there's bigger fish in comics. Consider Dr. Manhattan. He's so terrifyingly powerful that it kind of makes people being afraid of Superman seem a bit silly. Is Superman strong? Manhattan doesn't need to touch things. He just thinks about them. Superman is impervious to damage. That's not even a real body Manhattan's in. He's just willed it into existence. Superman can move fast. Manhattan doesn't experience time linearly and already knows where and when Superman will be, and he's in multiple places at once. Superman has heat vision, only as long as Manhattan continues to allow the strong nuclear force to act on Superman's atoms before he dissipates into a cloud of subatomic particles. Story 13. As a person who's terrified of tsunamis, Aquaman as a villain would be a nightmare. Also, I always pictured a live-action psychological horror movie where Boots from Dora the Explorer was a villain, and all he did was make it difficult for her to navigate through some creepy forest while acting like an innocent monkey. Story 14. Ash Ketchum. He's immortal, Pikachu, with an insane level and stats, and if he captured half of the legendary mons he passed up because of friendship, he'd be unstoppable. Imagine if he turned into a terrorist in the world of Pokemon. Story 15. Jericho from Teen Titans. He can possess people through eye contact. He's a blonde mute who plays guitar on his downtime, but as a villain, he could possess world leaders or freaking Superman if he wanted to. Then the heroes have to deal with the guilt of what he made them do. Great drama. Being Slade's son makes it worse. Jericho's potential connections via his powers and Slade's diabolical plans are a recipe for disaster. Story 16. Honestly, most great good guy stories have some version of them evil, and there have been some great mentions already. So I'm going with Gandhi. Imagine if his entire works were just a ploy to gain followers, so that he could gain control and power. He turned followers of peace into militants, used the vast resources of India and surrounding areas assimilated through conquest to become a new Alexander the Great, sweeping through Asia and Eastern Europe with massive armies of zealots. Plus, if Civ games are any indication, he would have nuked somebody. Story 17. John Wick. I'm not saying he's strictly a hero. He was an assassin, but he has a moral code others have noted in the films. Chaotic good is his alignment, I suppose, since he was fine letting sleeping dogs lie until Vigo's shithead son killed said dog, and then everyone keeps wanting to play a nice game of around and find out with Wick. You find out that you die, but imagine if he was chaotic evil. Whoo boy! Man, I'm telling you. Story 18. Rocket Raccoon. In the first 3 issues of Rocket Raccoon and Groot, he pretends to be a villain to take out a tyrant. He takes his role so seriously that he literally sentences people to be tortured and executed, including Groot. Imagine if he wasn't pretending. Story 19. Percy Jackson. There's already a bit where you kinda see it, as he chokes a goddess with poison. But the kid is so powerful and only seems to get more powerful. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, not to mention being able to control liquids other than water, potential blood bending, and I don't think any other demigods would stop Percy if he tried to destroy the gods. Some might even help. Percy is terrifyingly powerful, and people are honestly really lucky he hasn't snapped. Story 20. Deadpool. I don't know if you count him as a good guy, but he is to me. Everyone he hates dies horrendously, like chunks of parts splattered everywhere. And, well, he can't die, so if he gives his best, like make a plan, infiltrate big departments, example given, Marvel, White House, Russian military, study people, etc., he could potentially kill everyone if he is determined, and maybe play with everyone while doing so, like holding a bazooka and being like, "Hey guys, wanna play hide and seek? You guys hide and I'll blast this big fella. It'll be fun, pinky promise." All the other villains are like,
"I'll destroy Earth, this dimension, the whole cosmos,"
or something, and they all do it quickly at least. But Deadpool can do it slowly, making people feel anxious the rest of their life until they're next. Deadpool will do it in a way that's fun for him, so he won't feel guilty. People will scream in pain and he'll still give a joke while laughing his off watching them die. Story 21. Santa. He knows when you've been sleeping, and he knows when you're awake. May I introduce you to Robot Santa of Futurama? What's funny is that my friend and I actually think he's not to be trusted at the very least. Santa is an elf, and elves are part of the Fae. When you're dealing with the Fae, you have to watch everything you do and say. Fae are notorious for getting you in any kind of deal or contract. You have no idea what they will consider as a favor or the opening of a contract. How does Santa fit in all of this? He normalizes the Fae to be children. Get them young. The deal is so simple too. Be good, get presents on Christmas. That's the first taste of what the Fae can offer you, and their request will seem so normal and innocent. But then comes the rule lawyering and the legal snare they can use to entrap you. The Fae are the best lawyers in the universe. They can turn a simple contract into lifelong servitude, and the rub is that their deals and contracts will be ironclad every time. Story 22. Jesus. I've had this doubt lately. Who created hell if it exists? I'm not a Christian, but the explanation that made the most sense to me is that hell is the place where God is not present. And when hell is described in the Bible, it's simply a description of a place where God is not present. So when God makes a place for Satan, he's not intentionally making it shitty. It's just that God is all that is good, and he takes that with him when he leaves. It's like saying the sun makes nighttime dark. Story 23. Iron Man Tony Stark could easily be a terrifying villain. Tony Stark already is the primary villain of the MCU in the same way that Reed Richards is one of the primary villains of Marvel Comics. He has lots of big plans that he thinks are good, but they bring ruin and destruction that require entire movies to fix. I mean, the guy privatized world peace in the first few Iron Man movies. That's how powerful he essentially was. Outside of a god, you couldn't beat him, and he knew it. Iron Man was just a weapon. Tony's mind and arc reactor was the real threat. Earth was very lucky he stuck to his convictions early on. Even in the first movie, he was hellbent on destroying all of the weapons and war his company created. There is nothing except this. There is no art opening. There is no benefits. There is nothing to sign. There is the next mission, and nothing else. Story 24. My dad says Thor. My sister says Spider-Man. I say Hulk. In the MCU, Hulk would 100% be terrifying as a bad guy. He gets stronger the angrier he gets, and normal bullets and missiles don't hurt him. Good luck scratching him with that vibranium shield, Captain America. He'll just grab you and turn you into toothpaste. Story 25. Yoda. This is too far down. He held his own against Darth Sidious, but if he'd allowed the dark side through, he would be unstoppable. This is summed up pretty well by a quote from Yoda, The Dark Rendezvous. At this moment, Yoda turned, and Dooku gasped. Whether it was the play of the holo monitors, beaming their views of bleak space and distance battles, or some other trick of the light, Yoda's face was deeply hidden in the shadows, mottled black and blue, so that for one terrible instant he looked exactly like Darth Sidious. Or rather, it was Yoda as he might have been, or could yet become, a Yoda gone rotten, a Yoda whose awesome power had been utterly unleashed by the power of the dark side. In a flash, Dooku saw how foolish he had been, trying to urge the old master to the dark side. If Yoda ever turned that way, Sidious himself would be annihilated. The universe had yet to comprehend the kind of evil that a Jedi Knight of nearly 900 years could wield. Story 26. Ronald McDonald. Clown makeup and hair, but with the classic businessman formal shirt and suspenders, giving a monologue about how his pig customers eat up whatever crap he serves them. He's slowly killing them, and they're making him a billionaire. Story 27. Brian Mills from Taken. If you piss him off, you've already got one foot in the grave, and he's not gonna send some lowly henchman or sidekick to take you out like most villains do. He's gonna finish you himself. Story 28. Santa Claus. Holy crap. Oh yeah, last night when you were sleeping, an old man ransacked your house and killed your pets. He's halfway to Mongolia now, so there really isn't anything you can do about it. Imagine Tony Stark, Bruce Wayne type of advanced weapons and tech. You remember those purple minions from Despicable Me? Swarms of genetically altered reindeer blot the sun out when they come to collect the naughty boys and girls. And his elves' numbers can't truly be known, nor should they be speculated. Suffice to say, they are numerous and belligerent. Some sorta interstellar cybernetic race of beings, survived only as mass-produced clones. Programmable to fill a variety of roles all linked to this hive mind, like data-linked Skynets, as one singular entity, an artificial superintelligence. You are encouraged to provide an offering of milk and cookies. Both. Be good, for goodness sake. Story 29. Harold Finch from Person of Interest. We see a bit of that towards the end, and it's totally shocking, despite knowing what he can do. He's terrifyingly powerful, and only his own moral code is stopping him from destroying the world. Story 30. Adrian Monk. Imagine a criminal so intelligent and methodical, he stays behind to remove any prints and fibers, plus staging the scene to point the authorities in the wrong direction. If he wasn't such a basket case, he'd be the next Zodiac killer. No one would suspect a thing. Story 32. Not sure why everyone is so obsessed with Dr. Manhattan and comparing him to Superman. Spectre, Molecule Man, Superman 1 million, Anti-Monitor can all take out Manhattan. No mention of the Beyonder? You are correct. And didn't the Beyonder encounter Molecule Man once? Either way, I was just listing a few off the top of my head after years ago when I compared feats and read everything. Dr. Manhattan may seem OP, but others you don't want to be evil. I want to say the Molecule Man encountered him at least once. Molecule Man, as I recall, initially tried to escape the potential destruction of everything in that particular realm by packing everything he could and planning to run away with Volcana to the Beyond Realm, hiding in a tiny shielded bubble. Not sure how that panned out. Story 34. This may be cheating, but the August 8th cluster from Sense 8. You've got a hacker, Nomi, a thief with emotional detachment, Wolfgang, a confidence trickster, Leto, an inside man, Will, an expert on how the financial markets work, Sun, a chemist that can make bombs with household goods, Kala, a car specialist, Capheus, and a face, Riley. Don't forget that they can transfer skills and knowledge between each other. Story 35. David Charleston from the Reckoner series. An intelligent guy with great aim with a rifle with super strength, invulnerability, energy blasts, flight, wind manipulation, and changing non-living material into steel, plus a vast knowledge of other epics, in-universe terms for someone with superpowers. Story 36. Metro Man from Megamind. I mean, it's even part of the plot. Metro Man's powers in the hands of someone who isn't as noble, I put that in quotes because of what Metro Man does during the film, such as Hal makes an insta-villain instead who destroyed and terrorized Metro City. And since Titan could only be defeated by depowering him, the actual Metro Man could wreck anything if he ever wanted to break away from that guitar of his. Then again, given the quality of his debut song, maybe he's already gone villain. My ears certainly cried for mercy. Story 37. Ginkgo from Mushishi would be a really compelling villain if he turned evil, in my opinion. Calm, unassuming, full of knowledge of the natural world that could easily allow him to wreak devastation on unknowing subjects. He could become one of the coolest serial killer types ever invented. Story 38. Naruto. He's got black balls, big blue balls, as well as colorful ones, a long black stick, handheld tactical war nukes in the palms of his hands, stamina to fight in a war for 24 hours, i.e. half of the nine-tailed beast power. Minato has the other half. The power to seal a god. Super speed. He dodged the light fang, which was the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Giant fox avatar. Really body to please either gender. And the most important one of all, there can be 5,000 of him on the battlefield at once.